Hey everyone, today we're going to dive into a super useful but sometimes misunderstood JavaScript tool. It looks like just two question marks, the nullish coalescing operator. It seems small, right? But trust me, it solves a really common and honestly frustrating bug. So, to really get why this operator is so important, I need to ask you a simple question. In the code you write, is the number 0 a real, valid value? I want you to think about that because your answer is the key to, well, everything we're about to cover. All right, so as developers, we're constantly doing this, setting a default value for a variable. You know the drill, right? If we don't have a user's name, we want it to say anonymous instead of just being blank. And for years, there's been a classic tool for exactly that job. And here it is. You've probably seen this a million times, the logical OR operator, those two vertical bars. For a long, long time, this was the go-to. It's short, it looks clean, and it seems to work perfectly. If the name variable is empty, you get anonymous. Easy peasy, right? Well, not so fast. That classic tool, our old friend the OR operator, has a hidden flaw. It's like a tiny crack in the foundation that can cause some really surprising bugs, especially when you start working with numbers. Just look at this. We've got a variable, height, and we set it to 0. That's a totally valid measurement, right? But when we use the OR operator to set a default of 100, boom, it shows 100. Our real data, our 0, just got completely ignored and thrown away. So what happened there? Why did the logical OR operator look at our perfectly good 0 and just decide, nope, not good enough, and replace it? The answer is all about what the OR operator is actually looking for. And here's the culprit. The OR operator isn't just checking if something is null or undefined. Oh no, it's looking for the very first truthy value it can find. The problem is that in JavaScript, a bunch of things are considered falsy, like the boolean false, an empty string, and, you guessed it, the number 0. So to the OR operator, a 0 is just as empty as null, and it gets tossed aside. This exact problem is why a newer, smarter tool was added to JavaScript. So let's meet the star of the show today, the nullish coalescing operator, or as we all call it, double parentheses. It was literally designed to be a more precise tool for this exact situation. And here is the magic. The AND operator could not care less about truthy or falsy. Its job is way simpler. It only cares if a value is defined. And in its world, a value is defined as long as it isn't literally null or undefined. That's it. That's the whole rule. So much more precise. And this right here, this is the light bulb moment. When you put them side by side, it all clicks. The old OR operator sees 0 as falsy and throws it out. But the nullish operator, double dash, sees 0 as a perfectly defined value and keeps it. It gives you the result you actually wanted all along. Okay, so we get the theory, but how do we actually use this thing in our day-to-day code? Let's walk through some real-world examples and cover a couple of really important rules you've got to know. So the number one use case is still providing a clean default. Here, the user variable hasn't been given a value yet, so it's undefined. The double question operator sees that undefined value and correctly provides our fallback, the string anonymous. Perfect. What's really cool is that you can chain them together to find the first piece of data that's actually there. So the code checks first name, nope, that's null, let's move on. It checks last name, also null, okay, next. Finally, it gets to nickname and finds supercoder. Since that's a defined value, the search stops right there and that's our result. It's just so clean. Now we gotta talk about a little gotcha, the first important rule. Just like plus or minus signs in math, JavaScript operators have an order of operations called precedence, and you need to know that ... has a pretty low precedence, which can definitely trip you up. For example, you might look at this line and read it left to right. But here's the thing, multiplication has a higher precedence. So JavaScript runs the 100 times width part first before the double dash operators ever get a chance to do their thing. And that completely breaks the logic of what we're trying to do. The fix is simple and you should make it a habit. Just use parentheses. When you wrap each a check operation like this, you're telling JavaScript exactly what you mean. Do the height check first, then do the width check, and only then multiply the two results together. This is the safe, predictable way to write your code. This actually leads us to a really nice built-in safety feature. To prevent this exact kind of confusing bug, JavaScript will flat out refuse to let you mix the double question mark operator with the and or operators in the same line unless you use parentheses. It knows this is a recipe for disaster, so it just throws an error to stop you. And this isn't a bug, it's a feature designed to save you from yourself. The language designers are basically forcing you to be explicit and clear about what you want to happen first. So, once again, the solution is to use parentheses to spell out your intentions. Here, 1 and 2 runs first, which gives us 2, and that's what gets used in the nullish check. Okay, that was a lot to take in. So let's bring it all home with a final showdown. This is your quick and dirty cheat sheet for knowing exactly when you should reach for catchy and when you should stick with the old school V's. It really just boils down to this simple choice. You've got the OR operator, 11. It gets triggered by any falsy value. We're talking 0, empty strings, the works. So you should use it when you truly want to find the first truthy thing in a list. And then you've got our new friend, the nullish operator, double chew. It is only triggered by null or undefined, period. This is your go-to tool when you need to provide a default, but absolutely must protect real values like 0 or an empty string. So let's just quickly recap the big points. The AND operator is all about finding the first defined value, meaning not null or undefined. This makes it perfect for setting defaults when 0 or an empty string are valid inputs that you need to keep. And just remember, it has low precedence, so wrap your calculations in parentheses. And for safety, you can't mix it with and, or without those parentheses either. And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Now that you have this more precise, more powerful tool in your belt, I want you to really think about it. Where in your own code, right now, might there be a hidden bug that the nullish coalescing operator could fix?